Hi and welcome to my channel. In today's video I'll be showing you how to sow lots of different types of flower seeds. There's something crawling in my compost. What? And because this is quite a long video, I've added in some chapters to help you find the section that you want, so you can access these in the description below. So let's get growing. This is the mix of compost that I'll be using today for this seed sowing. If you want to check out my previous video about peat-free compost, I'll leave the link in the description below. But let's get on with the seed sowing. First up, I'll be sowing Lobelia. So this is seed that I collected last year from my Lobelia plants, and the seed is tiny, like tiny, so you have to be super careful when you're sowing this. Don't sow it too thickly and be real careful when you're watering, and definitely water from underneath, not on top of the soil. Another method that I like to use for seed sowing when it's really tiny seed like this is to put some in the palm of my hand and just gently tap my hand so that the seed travels down. It will find one of the lines of your palm and it will travel down, and you just gently move your hand around to cover the surface of the compost. When they've germinated and they're large enough to handle, I'll prick them out and pot them on. Pricking out just means that you're going to individually take each seedling and put it in its own pot. You could cover them with some sieved compost or perlite. I'm just roughing up the soil gently just to cover them really lightly, firm them down gently and water them from underneath. Label them up and cover them with some see-through lid or plastic bag. I like to use these lids. They're from the large yogurt pots that you can buy in the supermarkets. And pop them in a tray of water until the surface compost is damp, then take them out and pop them on a dry tray. Next I'll be sowing Cosmos, two different varieties of Cosmos. I love growing these because they give you such a long season of flowers. They flower from July all the way through until October. But hold on a minute, what is this crawling out of the compost? It's a tiny worm. And I don't know how it got in there or how it survived, considering how aggressively I stirred the compost mix. Well, it seems to be looking okay, so I'll be taking this out in the garden where it belongs. Bye, lucky worm. So I'll split this cell tray in half and I'll do 3 rows of one variety and 3 rows of another, but I do need to remember to label it properly so that I don't forget which is which, because when they germinate they're going to look exactly the same. These seeds are a good size, so I'm just going to sow 1 per cell. You can also directly sow these into your garden. This is the seed from the Cosmos Sensation Mixed, and although there's different tones of pink and white, you can't tell from the seed which is which, so that'll be a nice surprise. So here I'm just sprinkling on a tiny bit of compost just to cover the seed, and I'll firm that down and label it up. I'll be covering this cell tray with a see-through Tupperware lid. You could also sow these in a propagator or a pot with a lid. Germination takes about 7 to 14 days. And pop it in a water tray until the top layer of compost is damp. Then again, same as the other seeds, pop it on a dry tray. And here are the Cosmos seedlings. They're already up and I forgot to check them each day, so they were very squashed underneath that lid. So good point there to remember to check your seedlings every day and remove those lids as soon as they're up. Next I'm going to be sowing Verbascum. This one's called Milkshake, and I'm using one of these fruit cartons with the lid attached because that makes a great propagator. And like the Lobelia seed, this is tiny seed as well, so I'll be sowing these using the tapping method. Verbascum is a perennial plant, so although I'll be sowing it this year, I'll plant it out in the autumn and it won't flower until the following year. Cover the seed really lightly with some compost or perlite. And just like the other tiny seeds, we're going to be watering these in the tray from underneath. And the germination of these seeds is between about 14 and 30 days. Once they're germinated and the seedlings are large enough to handle, I'll prick them out and pop them on into individual pots. Next, I'll be growing sunflowers. Although the pack that I sowed last year were sunburst mixed, this year I'll be sowing my own seeds that I collected from a giant sunflower which was multi-headed, and I'm going to give that a go this year because I've got lots and lots and lots of seeds of that. Germination for these seeds takes about 2 to 3 weeks. I just love growing sunflowers. They are probably the most cheeriest flower in my garden, and when the kids were small they could sow them really easily because the seed is nice and big. So definitely give these a go. I'll be sowing these 2 seeds per pot, and although I hate to, I will take out the weaker one, and but you could also direct sow these in your own garden. I like to bring them on indoors, as the slugs and snails seem to really enjoy them when they're just coming through the ground. Next, just sprinkle on some compost on top, gently firm them in, label and water. They're not fussy and pretty robust, so you can water them from the top if you want, and they don't need any lids. I'll be sowing poppy seeds next. I made these toilet roll pots. If you want to know how I did that, check out this video. I'll leave the link in the description below. And these are a lovely deep purple colour. I know they don't have open centres for bees and insects, but I do have many flowers in the garden already for bees and wildlife, so I'm happy to grow these alongside. Again, tiny seeds, poppy seeds, and they do self-sow in the garden. So we only need a small pinch or sprinkling in each of the tubes or pots. Very lightly cover them with soil or perlite. Really don't need to cover them much at all. Gently press down so that they make good contact with the soil. And remember, these tubes can be planted directly in the ground, no need to pot on. And pop the whole thing in a bowl of water until the surface compost is damp, and then pop them on a dry tray on a sunny windowsill. So I've already sown these Aquilegia seeds, but I forgot to press record. I know, I keep doing that, very annoying. Anyways, here's the seed. It's quite small and they all look the same, so you won't be able to tell what colour they will actually flower as. So we're just going to randomly take a pinch and sow them and hope that we get a good selection of colours. Just lightly sprinkle them into a seed tray, or I'm just using these 2 pots, and gently firm them in. Water from underneath. They actually prefer to germinate a little cooler than other seedlings, so a cold greenhouse or a cold frame would work just as well as a windowsill. Look how busy the windowsill is looking in my conservatory, full of seeds and seedlings. I love it. Now, I haven't grown this cornflower variety before, but I do know it doesn't like any root disturbance, so I will be direct sowing this in my garden. Well, that's it for today. If you like this vlog, give it a thumbs up and I'll see you in the next video.